Okay, as you may recall, I said problem number three was I thought the most difficult problem in the problem set, and solving it. I just want to scroll through this with you. I did something. I thought it was kind of difficult to get through it. Recognize that it had something to do with the law of cosines. Recognize that it had something to do with 30, 60, 90 right triangle. But we got through it. Right, it was tough to get through though. I hate to think that this is something that people find easy to get through. But then I talked about, actually solving it not for what they asked for, which was xy plus yz plus xz equals a number. They're asking that question. I had a different thing. I said, could you solve the system for x, y, and z? And, I'll be honest with you, it can be solved, but it took a lot of work to do by hand, right? A lot of work. Painful work, too, I thought. All right, now granted, maybe I don't see it the way I should be seeing it. Maybe I'm doing something really ridiculous when I solved it. But, I'm always curious, how does a machine handle something like this over here? So what I want to do is I want to go to a machine and I want to give it the problem. Now, certainly someone says, what do you mean give it the problem? I actually want to give it the problem number three. But when I give it to problem number three, I just can't type it in. I've got to understand how to use the machine to get this to respond to me. So I'm using a product called Sage. And Sage is running on my computer. And the first thing I want to tell Sage is I want to tell Sage to give me a clean sheet of paper. In other words, reset it. If there's anything in the memory, clear it out. Give me a clean sheet of paper. The next thing I want to tell Sage, I want to use some variables. I'm going to use x, y, and z. And I'm going to let Sage know that they are now variables. I'm defining them as variables. If you ever program, you notice that this is similar to programming in general, right? You define your variables and you're going to use them. Right now, I have to assign certain things. Like, I see the first equation. I'm going to come up with a name for that equation one, and I'm going to assign it. The equal is the assignment operator in Sage. And then I'm going to say three. An equation, a double equal sign means an equation, x squared, right, plus x times y. Yep, I got to use the multiplication symbol, plus y squared. All right, next one I'm going to say equation two. That's EQ2 equals, well, it looks like 1 is equal to y squared plus y star z plus z squared. All right, now I'm going to do equation 3. That's EQ3 equals 4. I shouldn't say equal, I say assigned. I'm sorry. EQ3 is assigned to the equation 4 equals, the double equal sign is read as equal, by the way, z squared, all right, plus x times z, plus x squared, right? All right, put that down. All right, let me just see if I did that right. Equation 1, I said, is 3 equals x squared plus xy plus y squared. I said equation 2 is, y squared plus yz plus z squared. And I said equation 3 is 4, I'm just reading it, z squared plus xz plus x squared. And now I'm going to say, I wonder if you can solve it. So I'm going to ask Sage to solve a system of equations. And there's 3 equations, 3 unknowns. Let's see what happens. All right? So it's going to be equation 1, EQ1, EQ2, EQ2, EQ3, EQ3. And I'm going to ask Sage to solve it for x, y, and z. Now, this is not the same question they had, right? There was a different question, but I want to see what happens. And it returns an answer right away. I think you probably know that the speed at which it did that is phenomenal compared to the amount of time it took me to actually do that by hand. All right? Now, at this point in time, my understanding of competitive exams, there is no, I don't think anyway, maybe I could be wrong about this, there is no competitive exam that uses computer algebra systems. But that would be an interesting concept. We come up with some really interesting questions that require computation to answer. There's a lot of questions in mathematics that require computation to answer. And, having the ability to use a computer to answer a question is an advantage, by the way. It allows you to do much more interesting problems. Now, again, I'm shocked by how quick it did it. I really am. But someone says, yeah, it's really tough to read that. So I just want to go to the answer key, and I want to make sure you know that the answer is being listed for you. Let me just pull this over a little bit. And I'm going to say, looking at the answer key, one of the answers is 2. I'm looking at this over here. I'll highlight it for you. It's right over here. It's x equals 2, y equals -1, and z equals 0. The next answer, and again, these are written down to x, y, and z, -2, 1, and 0. I'm seeing that. Now, granted, for a lot of students who are reading this over here, they have a real tough time with this. They don't know what it's saying. They're looking at it, have no idea what it's saying. But what is it saying? It's actually saying 4/7 times the square root of 7. Now, I wrote that a little differently in the key. I hope you noticed that. And the reason for that, I don't mind having, a root 7 in the bottom. But they put that in standard form, by the way. But anyway, they write all the answers down. All right, how many answers are there? There's 4 answers over there. And that's kind of interesting. I was able to do that. And there's a lot of software able to do that. Here's the deal, though. A lot of these questions Sage is going to bog down on. Won't be able to. Trying to formulate the problem is more difficult than doing the problem by hand. All right? But I will say that computer algebra systems have a distinct advantage over doing things by hand sometimes. And you should be aware of that. What is it lacking? The elegance in finding a solution to the problem. And that's where this method that I was going over here with you, I thought was complicated, but it was sort of like you're seeing something. Hopefully you're seeing something in that problem that you may not have seen before with polynomials. Its relationship to the law of cosines. And that's remarkable to me that came up. Now, someone says, why do they come up? These problems are written to work this way, all right? Typically in a competitive exam, they're written to work the way the writer wants them to work, all right? So I just said a brief overview of using Sage to solve a problem. And again, this is a competitive exam, paper and pencil, no calculators are supposed to be using these things over here. But again, I still think you should become interested enough that you're saying, yeah, I wonder how a computer can handle this problem over here pretty well, by the way. And certainly I can answer that question now, right? I could definitely answer that question. What was the question going to be? And again, I'll read that to you. It says x, y, and z are positive numbers. So x, y, and z are positive real numbers which satisfy the following equation. Let me see if I have any positive real numbers that satisfy that. Let me see, one. Yeah, only one solution there has it. The other ones, they have a mixture of positive and negatives. All right? I do want to point out that any of those triplets is going to produce the correct answer. All right? You may want to test it out yourself, though, by the way. All right, thank you for paying attention. And again, little tidbits of Sage here and there. If you're interested, again, reach out to me. I think you probably know my email address by now, but I'll type it in for you. B, the @ symbol, NNON.US. If you have questions. I also have a tutorial about Sage for those students interested in learning more about Sage. All right? Again, thank you so much for paying attention.